So with that, I would like to introduce the Outlaw Rotary Club of World Bliss. Club member Arthur Kanegis, filmmaker, podcaster, visionary, and I've been handed over to Arthur, and thanks so much for being here.
Again, that's it. Greetings.
Was just
I'm Arthur.
Oh,
sorry. This is my wife, Molly Post, and we are a global family. I'm global because I'm a member of the Rotary Club of World Peace and put together this booth right over here, just off the edge of the stage. The book is 647 with Gandhi and Eleanor Roosevelt. And my wife is local. She's a member of the Rotary Club of La Misión in Baja, Mexico, where we live by the beautiful Pacific Ocean, have Airbnbs in our house, enjoy having a beautiful life there. But when we moved there 25 years ago, things were different. There was a local pueblo where dogs were being kicked around on the street, mangy dogs. There was not even a high school. The local kids couldn't even stay in school through the mandated 6th grade because they didn't have money for books. They didn't have money for uniforms. They didn't have money to even get through the mandated 6th grade, much less ever dream of a life beyond the systems and situation they were in. And thanks to some amazing magic, we now have a thriving high school with over 100 graduates from university, doctors, lawyers, all kinds of people. We have a high school where virtually every student that goes to that high school applies to college, and almost all of them get in. We have the highest test scores in the entire area. We've become a magnet for education from all over the state of Baja. Now, how did this magic happen? Well, I'm going to want you to and by the way, there's one other member of our global family representing all species. Rotary dog, Louie.
That's awesome.
Say Louie. You'll see Rotary dog Louie here around. He's a wonderful representative of all species. So talk to Molly afterwards about how that magic happened, but I'll give you a hint what the key is. The key that made that magic happen was that we came together from being separate identities, from being those are the Mexicans, these are the Americans, we're all each in our silos, to coming together as one community. We could have never done all this separated. And the women, like my wife and others, formed a kind of chaotic organization, which means there's no one leader. They all collaboratively work together and transform that magic. And with the Rotary Club, you can help join in their scholarships for kids. You can talk to her afterwards about how you can be part of that local magic. Now, what I'm going to do is talk to you about how you can be part of the global magic. Okay. How can the magic of Rotary overcome the terrible wars tearing apart our planets, the divisions, the strife, and unite our world for good? This is The World is My Country in multiple languages. Our founder, Paul Harris, said, the years ahead reserve for Rotary a most difficult and arduous task to heal the wounds of a war-ravaged world, to change enemies into friends, to replace armed struggle, goodwill, and friendship in international peace. This is the superhuman task we must undertake. Well, how do we get the ability to be superhumans? How did they have the ability to take on that superhuman local task of magically transforming a community? How can we transform our world? Well, what Rotarians did at the end of World War II, rising out of the ashes where over 70 million people had been killed in that horrendous war, the cities were still in ruins, the planet was a huge mess. There have been concentration camps. The greatest violations of human rights were unimaginable atrocities. And so 49 Rotarians played a very active role in the drafting of the United Nations Charter. Eleanor Roosevelt, who you'll see over here, he's right at our booth. She's there at page 647. Eleanor Roosevelt and her Rotarian husband, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, ushered in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And as we'll see when you watch my film, The World is My Country, you'll see that an amazing part of that was her incredible work, but plus a grassroots movement sparked by world citizen number one, Gary Davis. But we'll get back to that later. So the purpose of the UN was to save succeeding generations from the scourge of war. What happened? What happened? Well, why did we get to save the succeeding generations from the scourge of war? Why don't we have universal human rights for all? Why haven't we stewarded the planet's resources? Something went wrong. Something's missing. What's missing? What can give us the superhuman power? What's the magic that's missing that has kept us from uniting the world in peace? Well, let's think about the superheroes we heard of, whether it's, Superman, Spider-Man, all the others, or the ancient gods, the myths of superheroes. They were ordinary people at first. They were just fine, you and me and all of us. And then something happened. They donned something that transformed them into a superhero. Now, what is every superhero? What do they don? What do they don? They don a cape, maybe a new uniform. They don a new identity, and the identity that we need to don to become world citizens. Drop. Identity that we gotta one. We're gonna have three. We have to transform magically into citizen of the world. Citizen of the world. When we become citizens of the world, something magical happens. All of a sudden, the seemingly insurmountable problems that were totally unsolvable at the separate level, like in a community that was totally unsolvable when we didn't come together, when we become citizens of the world, suddenly they all become manageable. Think about it. Inside countries with one government, we don't fight wars. We may have criminals, we may have violence, but we have courts, we have systems of ways of resolving those things. When you think about, so I think there are ways that we can create something super above the nations that divide us. Now, here we are, world citizens. And that identity is so important because really, it is one world. Look around at all the wonderful people here. We're all citizens of one planet. We all get along fantastic. We have people from, from East Asia, Nigeria, Africa, and South America, you just keep meeting wonderful people everywhere, and something is dividing them. What that thing that's dividing them is the broken political system, a broken system of nation states that's a race to the bottom. It brings out the worst in people. It doesn't bring us together in one plan. Now, an amazing person, President Jimmy Carter, in his farewell address to not only to the entire nation, but to the world, Jimmy Carter said, I want to lay aside my role as leader of one nation and speak to you as a fellow citizen of the world. A president at his farewell address, he said, I want to speak to you about three difficult issues, the threat of nuclear war, and you should watch that speech because he gives a riveting description of what nuclear war would do in just a few minutes, how it would end everything we've all worked for and created. It would end all the species, even the wonderful dogs and other species that share this planet with us. And he said that the key issue of the stewardship of the physical resources. I mean, we live in an incredibly thin atmosphere on this gorgeous, incredible, wonderful, life-giving planet. It's such a gift. You look at the vast blackness of the universe. It's so hard to find any other gem of life that we have. And that we would threaten this incredible gem with destruction of that vital environment that we'd all need is just unfathomable. And the other issue is the preeminence of the basic rights of humans. I mean, every time the immigrant, the other person is disgraced, downgraded, thrown in foreign prisons, anything like this, oppressed, that's a pain to all of us. That's the separation from world peace. And so if we want to have a new superpower, we have to lay aside our role as leaders of one country and come together as fellow citizens of the world. I'm going to play you a little clip from a film called The World is My Country about World Citizen One Gary Davis, in which he talks about how we the people, can come together and create something that can rise above these broken nation state systems. We don't need a world of politicians leading us into destruction. All over the world, we're seeing these politicians bringing us down, and they're keeping us from coming together with the love people really have for each other, the real genius. So here, go ahead, let's play it.
We humans are an incredibly ingenious species. Why squander our genius on inventing smart bombs to do ourselves in? Why not use our great ingenuity to invent SmartGov, a way we can all interactively and intelligently and heartfully govern our communities, our regions, and our world.
Visionary, you bet, but doesn't every advance start with imagination? When we catch the vision of a people-powered planet, then, in this era of instant communication, we'll be able to evolve the tools and the platforms we need to bring the highest and best wisdom of each individual to the task of governing planet Earth.
Once we tap into the sovereignty of the whole, we can unleash the genius of humanity. End war, end oppression, solve global warming.
Global warming is at the forefront of a lot of people's minds, and change of weather that we've been having, the weather patterns, the flooding, hurricanes. Obviously, human beings have had a devastating impact on our planet. It seems now more so than ever we're at a real tipping point.
I'd like to ask Leo particularly. There's an old movie cliche, the planet is in peril, and it's the 11th hour, and things look really dark, and at the last minute, our hero swoops in and saves the day, saves the world. Who's the hero who's going to save us?
I think there's got to be millions of heroes. That's my answer to that. This is a gigantic worldwide movement that needs to cross cultural boundaries, religious boundaries. It needs to unify all of us. And I think how can you argue with wanting cleaner air, cleaner water? These are fundamental human rights issues at the end of the day, and that's why it is such a universal issue and a movement that we all, should be a part of. Everything has to come from the will of the people.
So it's you. You are the heroes who are going to save us. It's each one of us coming together, taking on that new identity as world citizens, rising above the divisions and strife, and inventing new creative ways. We have in this film, when you see the film The World is My Country, you'll see some of the amazing power that we can have when we rise above the divisions. So Leonardo DiCaprio said there's got to be millions of heroes. How can the magic of Rotary unleash that superhuman power to save our world? Watch this film. And it's sponsored by Rotarians like Al Jubas. Al Jubas, who taught us all this, he and other Rotarians got together and sponsored this to play on public broadcasting public broadcasting stations, coast to coast, across the United States. Thank you, Al, and the wonderful other donors, Yale Jones, and wonderful other people, Rotarians, who joined to make that possible. And that movie has now been selected by AARP. I know in Canada they are CARP, but AARP has scheduled it for Movies for Grown-Ups on July 15th. So you've each got a card about the movie, I believe, on your seat. If not, you come over to the booth, the Rotary E-Club of World Peace booth, and pick up cards. You may be distributing some after the meeting here. And see if you can go ahead and schedule a screening for your Rotary Club. And have a Q&A with me. We can zoom in for Q&As. Contact us about how to get shown in your conferences at global screenings, local, right, your community, and global events that you're having. And you also have the opportunity to click on the podcast and join our People Powered Planet podcast, where each week we bring you amazing solutionaries who are working not on telling you more about all the bad news in the world, but how can we actually invent those systems and tools that can help give humanity superhuman power to survive on planet Earth. So you also, we go to the next slide here. So you'll find all that when you scan this QR code on the postcard you have, and you also, when you come over the booth here, you will see some of the amazing speakers and amazing projects we have with the Rotary E-Club of World Peace. You'll see that speakers, like last week's speaker, the most recent speaker we had was Dean Alp of the Carter School, Rosalind Carter School for Peace and Conflict Resolution. He's here at the exhibit. He's here today. He's been here at the Rotary International Convention. Now, we had a podcast with him and with Stephanie Urchik, our president, and we had 500 Rotarians at that mega meeting from 84 different countries, a Zoom meeting with people from 84 different countries. So come to theworldismycountry.com, click on the podcast link, or go to peoplepoweredplanet.com, scan the code, and you'll get to watch the replay of that meeting and other wonderful speakers. The Rotary Club's and so many great speakers, and you don't have to be a member to attend. You just scan the QR code there at the booth, and Rudy can give you the link and the invitation. Rudy and his wife Karen are both the co-founders with Ray, who's been part of all running this. He's our current president. So then you'll also, if you go to the booth, you'll find Mediators Beyond Borders. Scott is here, and you can talk to him in person. You'll hear, I see Mary is there with the Carter School Initiative. You can talk to her in the back. We've got Pathways to Peace and International Cities of Peace. That's a great way of rising above the borders. Cities, when they connect with each other, have great power, and they're solutionaries. They're solving problems like how do we keep the sewage, how do we make things work, not politics, how to come together. So you'll see imagining world peace, how we overcome nuclear war. And, basically the big push is to see the movie. But there's another thing. Once we come together, these interactive groups, or we have these mega meetings with people on opposite sides of issues coming together, we need some tools for conflict resolution. So many of us are building those conflict resolution tools. But one fun thing we've developed is a way of teaching these to kids of all ages from 8 to 80, which we call Bullyproof. And Bullyproof has music and drama and songs and puppet shows and a rapid roll opera for teens. But what it is 10 animal characters. It's Gandhian nonviolent fun form for children. It's 10 animal characters that teach you the tools for conflict resolution. Bust Out Bear says, break away from the current fray. With Deborah's School, then have your way. Understanding Unicorn, Listening Lynx, Loving Lion, Yin Yang Yak, understand the opportunity and crisis, balance your inner subparts, and picturing portraits. There's great power in picturing the future with what you want. Respectful rabbit, respect others, and they'll respect you. Originating orangutan, originate win-win solution. Overseeing owl, problems seem insurmountable here, but when we rise to a higher sight, an inner sight, we have the power to change these. Fearless fox, we know that fear attracts this attack. Now our bullyproof shield can turn it back. So these are just some of the wonderful opportunities we have here at the booth. We hope you all join us. We also have my cards. And Molly's going to show you a little magic of over on the booth. There's also the magic of these little bubble wands you can share with others. So come over and have some fun and chat with us. And again, just so much thanks to all the wonderful peace builders around. I'm just so thrilled to be here at the convention and to just feel the magic of we are Rotary International is a microcosm of a world that's come together. And if we capture the vision of that power, we tap into that superpower, we truly can change the world. So I think my time is up. Thank you so very much. I appreciate it. Look forward to hearing more from you later.
Thank you.